Hola, cage fighting connoisseurs. This is KidNativeBloodyElbow.com, joined once again by Dallas Winston, who did not mess up the intro this week. Dallas, you're off your game.
I thought I was on it, but okay. That
All right.
definitely leads me into a different and new and exciting direction for the future.
All right. Well, just be warned. Be warned. And we are here to give the in-depth preview of UFC 166. Dallas, as you can tell, has been staying up all night long researching every fight of every fighter on the undercard. Just he knows everything about these guys. Dallas, I'm expecting in-depth knowledge.
Okay, expect away.
All
You know,
right, all right. And we've got UFC 166, obviously the big heavyweight, the third fight in the Cain Velasquez Junior Dos Santos trilogy, and Bellator 104, which has nothing comparable, but it does have Ron War Machine fighting Ron Keslar, which, is something.
Hawn Weedman,
Rick Hawn
debut,
and Brent
de,
Weidman.
Bellator debut of Peter Graham, K1 legend, knocked out Badr Hari with that rolling thunder kick.
That's right. Well, let's jump
There,
right into it.
let's and
Let's.
on that is Peter Graham fighting on this card, by the way?
He is, and he's on the main event. He's fighting Eric Prindle. Eric Nutshot
Yeah,
Prindle.
right. Uh, so Graham is the second K1 kind of big name they picked up along with Mighty Mo. Mighty Mo's 43, but I mean he can still throw them things. You know what I mean? He's kind of
And
like a
isn't
mark.
Graham's MMA record like 9-9 or something? Or
Well, all right. So he's the kind of dude. He was over in Japan K1, and he was the kind of dude that got thrown into, hey, let's have an MMA rules match, and here fight this badass. So I think he fought like Semi Schilt, and I know later on he lost to Josh Barnett, but I only think he won one of his like first 5 or 6 fights. And then after that, he started to really take MMA seriously and changed his camps. And then not big names, but he reeled off, I think, what, 6 or 7 wins in a row after that.
yeah, looking at Wikipedia, it looks like he went from 1-5 to 9-5, so that's 8 straight wins.
All by knockout, I would imagine.
Yes, every one of those was by knockout or TKO. And he didn't lose to Josh Barnett. It was Jim York. A lot of people get Josh Barnett and Jim York mixed up. He did
Because they're
fight.
basically twin brothers. It was
Yeah,
Mighty Mo that fought Josh Barnett, my
yeah, I
bad.
think you're right. And he did fight Fujita,
Yep.
Kazuyuki Fujita, who was that was his first fight. He also fought Holmes Gracie, Dion Staring, uh, but who fought Dion Staring fought yesterday in Russia, by the way, on the Pro FC 30 card. I don't know who won,
Look
but
at you. Look
I
at
know
you
it was.
go.
Well, I posted the stream on Bloody Elbow. I didn't get a chance to watch it yet, but I did illegally record it, so it's on there sometime if I want to watch it. But Bellator, there's 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 4 fights on the main card, but there's a couple of UFC veterans on the undercard. We've got Rob Emerson, remember him from The Ultimate Fighter, fighting Jared Downing, and Paul Sass, the one-trick pony, fighting Rod Montoya. Any thoughts on those matches?
Isn't There's one more match too? Paul Bradley and Carl Amasu.
You're right. You're right. I forgot about Paul Bradley being
Yep.
a UFC veteran. Herpes almost kept him out of the octagon, but eventually he fought his way back in there. And Paul Bradley, I mean, no offense, this guy is deeply boring to watch fight.
He's rather nondescript, yes. Although he gave Mike Pierce a pretty good fight.
And
So
he's a
he's
tough dude. I mean,
yeah,
I'm not disputing it. I'm just saying he is rarely fun to watch. But Carl Amisu is almost always fun to watch. So
yeah. He's a killer for sure. There was one card a couple weeks ago that I thought was Bellator's best undercard, and this is another one. And not huge, but it's a subtle step in the right direction when you start having guys like this on the dark matches. I think that's a pretty good sign. And
and
I really,
it's to be streaming free on Spike TV, and you can watch it right there at Bloody Elbow, right? Tomorrow night.
yes
That's
sir,
right. And the
I'll be
main
there.
event will be all on Spike TV. Do you know what time that is? What time it airs Eastern?
It's usually 9. Prelims are usually 7 and 9 o'clock Eastern for the Spike TV card.
And you'll be live blogging it for Bloody Elbow?
I will exuberantly,
Are you going to do the
unlike
results
today.
post this time, or are you going to make the readers suffer through one of my shitty results posts?
Well, Nate, it would be nice if someone could on that. It's a little rough doing because I try to pick up the preliminary card play by. So after doing 4 straight hours of intense play by play, and I'm kind of stupid, my play by play like each
You go
round is
way,
two
way
full.
into in depth, yeah.
Yeah, yeah. But that's an offline conversation, I think.
All right. I was just trying to get you, in front of the public to
Yeah.
commit to more work. But anyway, that's a little management secret for those of you who are aspiring to one day lead the gullible in business endeavors. But let's talk about Eric Prindle versus Peter Graham. Does Prindle have anything for Graham? I mean, how
Yeah.
many nut shots can you land in one fight?
Well, so God, I'm even getting sick of myself being positive all the time, so I can only imagine how the fans feel. Prindle's, as far as the nut shots, I mean,
Was he a
he actually,
victim or a perpetrator in most of those?
I think he was the victim because I don't remember which came first, but he actually threw an axe kick when Thiago Santos was on his back, a la GSP and Mayhem, which is beautiful for a heavyweight to throw that is cool. But he missed.
And it landed right square in the
Penis.
package.
There was some
Yes.
penis involved there. But either way, to me, I thought that was clearly an accident. Whereas,
An accident.
yeah, whereas I think he
Get an
got either a
axe
no
kick.
contest
Accident.
oh, I see what you did there, you clever
Yeah.
fucker.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
I believe he either got a no contest or a DQ for that. Whereas Thiago
Yeah.
Santos straight up like he was kicking a field goal with his genitals. I mean, I don't
With
understand how
Prindle's
that.
genitals, not with his own.
Well, yeah, but
I mean,
that
it's not like Santos whipped out his junk and then like hit a football with it.
I'm actually like pondering flexibility in different angles but either way, I don't even see how it's conceivable that I mean, how can that even be a legal shot unless he was trying to kick him, in like the inner groin? I don't get it.
Well, Santos, it was a no contest the first fight, Bellator 59, and it was a DQ the second time. I think
Yeah,
clearly
why?
because he had already taken a nut shot, and so when he did it, they reacted as if it was like if a player gets beamed in baseball immediately after somebody hit a no man on bases home run, you just blame the pitcher. You don't go, was that a close call or was that an accident? You just go, look, fucker, that was a deliberate beanball.
Y-
I mean,
Yeah, I understand all that, but I guess if you really look at it, I don't. It seems a little harsh to give Prindle like this, you know, like
you
he's
try
some
getting
kind
an
of
axe kick
savage.
in the nuts while you're laying on your back. I mean, come on.
I'm not sure how that. I will try that. I mean, I have an open window this afternoon. But either way, you know what I mean? To me, I don't think Prindle should be stamped as the guy who hates dicks. I'm sure he'll be
But that
upset
wasn't the
about
question.
that.
Does he have anything for Peter Graham? Is Peter Graham just going to
Yeah,
steamroll him, or
well, he probably will because I mean we're talking about an elite striker in even in the kickboxing world, so in the MMA world, and I believe what he's done is kind of tailor his everything, his stance, his defensive grappling, and tailored his striking to the MMA world.
isn't that
So
dude about 40 years old though? He's 38 years old. I
he,
mean,
he's 38, yeah. But I mean, we don't often see. That's why it's rare we see guys like Mirko and Alistair coming over, still somewhat in their prime and having real impressive kickboxing accolades. But Prindle is he was like I think he was a multiple time boxing champion in the military. He's a tough dude. I mean, he's a big boy. He knows how to throw a punch. And while on one hand, sure, he's going to probably look to stand up with a. It's a terrible matchup for him. So yeah, but I mean, Graham's probably going to end up having to come in his wheelhouse at some point in time. So, it's one of those where anyone could, if Eric Prindle hits any mammal in the face, they're probably going to fall down and not get up for a little bit. So,
and
yeah, Graham,
if he axe kicks them in the nuts, then
then it's a DQ.
yeah, it's a DQ. All right, let's move on. Kendall Grove versus Joe Vedipo. I believe both of these guys are UFC veterans. Am I?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And
Yeah.
I love Kendall Grove, man. I
I
mean,
mean, who? The Spider with a Y. How
and a
could you not?
D.
And a couple of D's. How would you not love the Spider?
Yeah, I don't. Maybe I love the
Who
dude
are
more.
these people that don't love the Spider, Dallas?
I don't know, but you should seek them out
Yes, they need to be
quickly.
expunged.
He's the kind of dude I would watch fight, anytime, any day. He's been busy. He's been fighting quite a bit.
He went over
Uh,
to Europe and Australia and lost like three in a row.
Yeah, but
Um,
look at the guys he fought. For a guy like Kendall, those were probably the worst possible
Muhammad
guys you could
Khalidov,
fight.
Jesse Taylor. I don't know Michael Matirlo.
Maturla, I
Matirlo.
think a KSW. He's got a good record. I think he's like 18-2, and that's what I mean, like a tough, really tough guy that no one's heard of. So it's kind of one of those lose-lose situations. But
Yep.
I imagine he's going to come in here like with an who gives a fuck attitude. You know what I mean? He's at this point, why not just come in and let the guns blaze? And I think he'll do well, in that way. And I don't think Bellator's got a lot of guys that can hang with him. You know what I mean? I mean, not only his size, but he's a good striker and he's got really, really slick jiu-jitsu. So I'm excited about seeing Kendall, and kind of like I'm glad that Bellator gave Caro another shot. People were
Ah,
wondering why they gave him a shot. Wouldn't it be more of a dick move to bring him in against Rick Hawn, one of the best guys in Bellator, and then,
and then cut him.
toss him after that? So
Yeah, but he looked so bad in that fight. I really worry that he's just shot. I
I don't
mean,
think he looked bad. I mean,
he
he
looked like he could neither take a punch nor give a punch.
he's never, no offense, he's never really been able to give a good punch.
Oh, he
And
had some power in his right hand. He had that as a setup. I mean, it was pretty limited. His whole game plan was overhand right to the clinch, but
yep, yep,
but
and
there
he
was
did
some
that.
pop on the punch.
Yeah, yeah, it was still more of a distraction though, and I think Han, being a
Sure.
judo guy, probably realized that I don't need to worry so much. And the one time they clinched up, Han disengaged, and then afterwards I think he said his words where I felt him in the clinch and decided, you know. But either way, I like that they're bringing in Kendall. I like that they're bringing in K1 guys. I was really high for a while when they were when they brought in Aoki, and they had kind of that strategic partnership with Dream.
Yeah.
Did that even happen?
It did happen, and then it ended. One FC doesn't seem to have that same relationship with Bellator. I don't know if it's because Bellator doesn't. I think Aoki had a little bit of notoriety to get the loss off of Alvarez's record, and that was they were desperate for opponents for Eddie Alvarez at that point.
Well,
But
they
so, do
brought
you
in
have a pick?
Kawajiri too.
Do you have
Oh
a
yeah, well,
pick with Joe
I'm gonna take.
Vedipo?
Oh, I'm sorry, Kendall Grove. Yeah,
Yeah, taking
probably by
Grove. I got to
submission,
take Grove too.
front
And then
headlock submission.
Brent Weedman versus Rick Hawn. Brent Weedman kind of won me over coming out and saying, "Look, I'm not going to credit God with my wins. He's not training with me."
Weedman's the man. He's a guy that I don't know. I don't see why anyone would not like him. He's just tough as hell. He's a scrapper. I thought his first fight with Han was pretty close. That was at 55, and now they're both back at 70.
Yeah.
Um, I don't know. This is kind of a toss-up. I think Han should probably be the favorite, and I'm kind of logically leaning his way. But I mean, I think Weidman will give him a real good fight. Isn't
I,
Keslar and War Machine on this card too?
that is the headliner, dude. Ron Keslar and War Machine, but we've got to, yeah, and so you,
I think it's Han and Weidman as the headliner.
uh, you're right. You're correct. You're correct. But Wikipedia has it listed wrong. But yes, Han Weidman is the headliner, and so we skipped War Machine and Ron Keslar. I mean, to me, this is like
Good job.
possibly War Machine's best matchup since Avi Scott.
I actually totally disagree. I think he's a terrible matchup for War Machine. Not really a terrible matchup, but no one is.
You
Everyone
just
thinks
gonna let
War
my porn
Machine.
joke just slide right by, Avi
Say it.
Scott?
Say it. It was so momentous. I just
I,
need to
I
hear it one
said
more
I
time.
said this is War Machine's best opponent since Avi Scott. That's a porno actress he did a scene with back in his porno career.
Get your mind out of the gutter. It's a
That's
professional show. I
this
don't watch
that's War Machine's
pornography, filth,
profession.
larn, filth.
Of course not. Of course not, Dallas.
Speaking of which, I watched Eddie Murphy Raw the other night. It's a good
No,
one.
that's some leather pants action.
Filth,
A,
larn, filth. That was a little reference I thought you'd catch. See, now
a
that's a
dated
that's a
kind of
mature,
reference.
but it's mature. It's not pornographic.
I see.
It's not filthy. It's not
I
dirty.
see. Well, I believe Avi
Where are we
Scott's
at?
over 30 these days, so that I would consider that a mature reference. So, do you have a pick for War Machine versus Kessler?
I think War Machine should be the favorite, but Keslar is, if there was a guy that I would maybe throw some chance money on, he's a good wrestler. He's just going to come forward. He's like stock mode, he's almost like a cyborg. He's just going to come forward and throw big, heavy right hands. So to me, yeah, I'll go with the crowd and pick War Machine, but I think Keslar has a good chance for an upset, and I think he'll surprise some people.
Well, good. That will be one to watch. I got to go with War Machine on that one. I'm not buying this Kessler hype you're trying to pump up. It's just your bubble pumping, Dallas. Bubble pumping. All right, let's move on to the
Porn
UFC.
reference.
No, That
Well,
was
I
just
don't
a
know with
random
you.
word
You're
I made
throwing
up.
like, all this jargon at me, high tech. I'm tired as hell. I'm sharp as a spoon today.
Well, let's move on to UFC 166. You can dig that spoon into the real ice cream bowl of this meal.
That was
I
a
don't know.
fucking metaphor and a segue all
Yeah,
wrapped into one.
tight. It's tight. It's pro time. All right, we got four cards on the Facebook undercard. First up, bantamweights Dustin Pague and Kyoji Horiguchi. Horiguchi's bringing out as much hype as you can bring out of Japan in this day and age. He's
Is he?
bringing. He's 11-1.
I mean, I know the dude. I don't know like the what the peanut gallery thinks of him.
Well, I was roundly chastised when Eugene and I had no idea who he was yesterday on the Care Don't Care preview. Of course, I do my research after the Care Don't Care preview, and I was like, well, this guy is pretty good. And the people that were
Yeah, he's
chastising me, were right to be appalled that I was not
yeah,
aware.
he's solid, man. He was the Shudo rookie champ, and then the Shudo I don't know, it's 132 pounds. Is that bantamweight champ, I think.
Yep.
But his only loss was to Masakatsu Ueda, good flyweight that the UFC brought in, and he got a win over Ian Loveland, who Loveland had a real tough stint. I forget who it was, maybe Mendez, but he fought like two badasses in the UFC and they cut him.
Yep.
And he's a solid dude as well. And so he beat him. I think in his last fight he beat Ishiwatari, who is not a
Yep.
world beater, but I
Yep.
mean that's a solid, respectable veteran to
And
beat. So
unlike a lot of Shudo guys, he's got 6, 7 TKO and KO wins on his resume. So
yeah,
he's not one of these decision heavy uh, Shudo guys with a lot of ties on his record. But
he's a kid.
Peg,
He's a kid Yamamoto understudy, man. He's a crazy big guy. So yeah,
yep,
he's a brawler. He does not fight like your typical Japanese guy. He's a brawler, mostly a boxer. Throws hard. He's got real good like energy and movement. A lot of angles back and forth. My concern is Peg is huge for a bantamweight, and Horiguchi's probably a little undersized. Might even be headed towards flyweight after this.
what I want to know about Peg is what is he doing still in the UFC? He's 1-4 in the UFC. He's on a 3-fight losing streak. His only win was a submission over Jared Papazian back in June of 2012. Is the bantamweight division that starved for talent that they need this guy to be an opponent for Horiguchi? I mean,
Mm, Actually, I can't say I have an excellent grasp of the overall field at bantamweight, but I think this will be a fight where he'll answer that question. I think he'll be a really tough matchup for Horiguchi because Horiguchi is he's an okay, he's a good clinch guy. I wouldn't quite call him a wrestler. His takedown defense is probably average. Pega is going to have so much height and length on this guy that it's going to be hard for Horiguchi to get inside and work his hands like he likes. And
yeah.
I think every time he does, Peg is going to look to put him on his back. And I think he'll do really well with that. So I'm going to go with Horiguchi. I agree that he's a great prospect. He's got a lot of upside. But I think Peg is a bad matchup for him. I think he's going to have 5 or 6 inches of reach on him. And yeah, I don't know what's up with Peg. I would have thought the same thing as you, but I mean,
Two of those
even,
losses were split decisions, so perhaps in Joe Silva's book they were wins for Peg.
yeah, in the Papazian fight, even though I know Papazian isn't, a top guy, but that was dominant. I was really
Yeah,
surprised at how well he looked there. So I'm okay
that
with
was
them.
a close one.
This fight will tell us a lot, but I think this will
You
show why he's
misused the
worth
word
keeping.
well. You should have said I was surprised at how good he looked because like you ask how someone is doing and they say I'm well. Uh, People frequently incorrectly use good for well, but you did the rare incorrectly using well for good. So I just wanted to point that out just to keep
Well,
you in your
that's good.
place. All right, up next. Up next, Jeremy Larson at featherweight versus Andre Fili. Who are these people? Who are these people, Dallas? I need answers.
Fili he's a good candidate. I think he's coming in on short notice. Wasn't there a big clusterfuck? All kinds of guys. Jesus, how's that for some ass voice? But
Well,
Fili's good. He's
Matt Grice was supposed to be fighting Jeremy Larson, and tragically,
yep.
he was in a car accident. I believe he was struck from behind by another vehicle. His wife claims he was wearing his seatbelt. Off-duty Oklahoma City police officer, and has been in intensive care, but I believe he's recovering. I've been following that story kind of closely. So
Yeah, that's a lot of information, Nate.
he's walking up and down the hospital halls
That's
and
good.
eating solid foods.
That's good, man. I mean, I'm happy.
Yeah.
I'm happy to hear that. That's bad news. Feely's a team alpha male guy. He's a great guy to bring in. He was probably destined to come in at some point in time anyways. Um,
Oh wait, we haven't run through the whole thing. So Grice was out, then Charles Oliveira was in, because Esteban Payan was out, but then Oliveira pulled out on October 5th, and so now Andre Fili coming in on 15 days notice. Pretty brutal.
yeah, I think it's not a bad matchup for him though. He's a team alpha male guy, and he's a pretty dynamic one. He's pretty tall. I think both of these guys are pretty tall for featherweights. They're around 5'10". I think, let's see, Larson is an Arizona Combat Sports guy, maybe. Last time someone got mad at me because I kept calling Pierce and someone else Team Quest guys, and they're not.
Well,
I think they're Sports Lab guys, but so sorry about that, Sports
yeah,
Lab
Larson is
guys.
Arizona Combat Sports, 5'10".
Well, but I went off Sherdog, and that's when everyone, no, that might not be correct. But either way, I think Larson had that fight with was that Lucas Martins?
Yes,
Um,
he got knocked out.
yeah, and Martins is a killer. So
And Joe
I think
Proctor knocked him out in this fight before that. So he is 0-2 in the UFC.
Fili's a pretty tough matchup for him. He's got a really good nickname. I believe his nickname is Touchy.
Touchy.
Put it together.
Touchy
Touchy Fili.
feely.
Yeah, you got it. You got it.
That's pretty terrible.
Well, really? I mean,
I mean, it's
should
unique.
he be the pit bull?
Well, I
The
hear
assassin, the
there's a
Terminator?
few of those out there.
I
How
heard
about the babyface assassin again? Let's just make a pick and get past
Fili.
this. Look, we're getting
Touchy.
bogged up in the undercard again. Fili,
Well,
I'm gonna
good.
go
Touchy.
Fili.
Fili.
I'm gonna go with touchy Fili myself. All right, lightweights: Tony Ferguson versus
You gonna
Mike
go
Rio.
touchy Fili yourself?
I'm always touchy Fili. Can you see my hands? You don't see my hands, so I'm just yeah. We
It's a
won't.
big
We won't.
smile you got there too.
I try to keep myself.
Smiley
You
today.
know, I know what I'm doing when it comes to pleasing myself. That's
Can I just totally screw everything up? I just thought of one thing that I wanted to mention. Dustin Pague did really good against TJ Dillashaw on the show. Remember that? And
mhm.
Dillashaw has now come out and done really well. Sorry, it's just one like fragment that I should have added earlier.
It really
FYI.
wasn't worth going back, but I'm glad you did, I guess.
I said it was a fragment.
A fragment, that's not even right either. It was a complete sentence, Dallas. It wasn't a
It
fragment.
was
You
a
had a verb
fragment.
and a subject.
It was a fragment of a thought on our
It was
past analysis.
it was an aside is what it was. It was an aside.
It was in the head. It wasn't in the side.
That's
All right,
terrible.
this is
Let's
a stupid
focus.
show.
Tony Ferguson, Ultimate Fighter winner against Mike Rio.
Tony
Thoughts?
Ferguson, I like him. Where the hell has he been? It's been a long time
He's been
since
hurt.
he came in. Is
He's
that
been
what's up?
hurt. Yes,
I was surprised he lost to Michael Johnson. I like him for sure here.
everybody was, but then when Johnson beat Joe Lozon, I actually went back and rewatched the Johnson Ferguson fight, and I think we were dealing with a new Michael Johnson.
He's cut, right? Why did they? Is that true?
Michael Johnson? They
Yeah.
didn't cut him. He just beat Joe Lozon.
How long ago was that? I don't know
Like
what the fuck's going on. Don't look
that
at
was
me
like
like you're
6 weeks
surprised.
ago.
How much? All right. I thought I saw maybe it was a different Michael Johnson. But either way, I was going to bitch about that, so it's good. Sometimes I create,
Perhaps you're thinking of Irvin Michael Johnson, the Lakers great. Oh,
of
that was
course,
Magic. Yeah.
of course, yeah, often confused.
No, he beat Joe Lozon on August 17th.
You're right.
Yep.
Sometimes I like to just create complete fallacies and argue against them, and I don't
And
need to
there
do
you
that
go.
here.
There you go. Mike Rio, though, the Wolverine.
Not impressed with him so far. Well, okay, that's not true.
His facial hair.
Is good. He's a good wrestler, and he's an excellent scrambler. You don't often see guys that are long and lanky that can scramble like he can. And I kind of like that he's a wrestler with good submission and scrambling and that kind of thing. But I think he becomes one-dimensional because when you're on the feet, really his only option is to clinch up or shoot a takedown. I think Tony Ferguson has got really, really nice hands. He's got some kind of like obscene long reach.
If your
Um,
definition of nice is they're capable of inflicting an enormous amount of harm on the human body, then yes, he has nice hands. This
that's
guy's a
nice.
mean, hard-hitting, mean, nasty person. I love Tony Ferguson because he was such an asshole in The Ultimate Fighter. I mean, he kept totally quiet and behaved himself. Then he got drunk and had one of the nastiest outbursts I've ever seen from anybody on
Did
reality
he?
television.
What was it? I don't
He
recall.
mocked a fellow housemate about their dead father or something like that, and in the most just completely assholish and unsympathetic way. Or maybe it was a sick kid, or he aimed as low as you can possibly go, and then
Children with cancer.
yeah, and then was just a complete asshole
Well, they're
about it.
asking for it. Kids
Your
with cancer.
leukemia baby's a total fucking
Yeah.
pussy. I'm sick of hearing about it.
Yeah, shit. Who can put up with that shit?
Yeah, and
I don't
so
remember that actually, but yeah, okay.
I mean that was like really literally the only interesting thing he did. He's one of these guys. If he just kept his mouth shut, which he did most of the time, everybody would have thought, oh, Tony Ferguson, he's a nice guy. But
Oh, I thought it was interesting that he knocked the shit out of everyone he fought on the Ultimate Fighter.
and and then did pretty well in his UFC run. You know, he beat Eves Edwards. That's no joke. Even though Eves is old, and he beat Aaron Riley pretty badly.
He beat Aaron Riley badly. The Eves Edwards fight was pretty close. Some people.
Yeah, that was real close. That was a marginal one, and so
I got Tony here.
Yeah, I got Tony too.
He's a good wrestler. He's a good wrestler. I think he can hang with Rio. Rio's probably a little bit better, but overall, I think Ferguson's a much better MMA fighter.
Yes, I have to agree. And
knock out.
I think this would be a good fight to expect a knockout. All right, next.
It would be a well fight.
Yes.
All you do is sit there and fuck with me, and I'm tired today. I'm
and then you have the temerity to fuck right back with me. Chewy, one of these days, Dallas, I'm gonna give Chewy the signal, and you're gonna find yourself in a very furry rear naked choke. And Chewy doesn't stop when you tap. That's the thing.
Don't act like you know him.
Yes. All right. Welterweights T.J. Waldberger and Adlan Amagov.
There's a bunch of tough fights to call on here, and this is one of them. Waldberger, damn, he always finds a way to somehow
fire off a whole bunch of submission attempts that don't get anywhere.
No, damn, he finds a way. His striking is improved, definitely. I think it's gone.
I shouldn't say that. He's got 3 submissions and 2 sub of the night awards in the UFC.
Yeah,
so
he just finds a way. I don't even remember who it was, but he locked an armbar on someone in one of his last couple fights during a transition.
Jake Hecht.
Yep, that was it. Sweet. I mean, right out of nowhere, which I like that. So he's kind of developing his own style, and so he's a grappler, but he's not relegated to only I need to shoot a double leg takedown to get the fight on the floor. He's creative, man. He'll just buzzsaw into people and I don't know, dive after something, and if that doesn't work, transition to something else. So, but Adlan Amagov is a bad bastard. He's the guy that he's knocked a couple cats out with spinning crescent kicks. I don't think he's a combat sambo champion, although he trains in that clique with Nurmagomedov.
Yeah.
They have that whatever relationship between AMA. Is that right? AMA Fight Club and Jackson's.
I can't keep all this crap straight. But the thing about Amagov though is, remember how badly Robbie Lawler beat him up?
Yeah, but I mean, fucking
but
Robbie
yeah,
Lawler.
T.J. Waldberger's not Robbie Lawler, and the thing about this fight's been a tough one to pick because Waldberger, this is a guy who got knocked out by Pete Spratt not that long ago. So an elderly Pete Spratt knocked him out. Johnny Hendricks beat the piss out of him, and Brian Ebersol dominated him too, pretty thoroughly. So I don't know. I think Amagov's too slick to get caught in any of his submissions, and it's too tough. I think he's going to put a beating on Waldberger. I just solved my dilemma. I didn't even have to ask you.
I'm gonna go with Amagov too. He's a tough clinch guy. You can't call him a wrestler or a grappler, but he's got a little bit of judo. He's got a little bit of wrestling. He's not easy to just move around. So this is going to be one where Waldberger is going to have to draw from his creativity and find. And I would not rule that out whatsoever in a scramble, in a transition. Waldberger pulling something out of his ass. But I'll go with Amagov here. He's an exciting guy. I'm interested to see what he does here.
Yeah, I think both of these guys are exciting guys. But let's move on to the Fox Sports 1 preliminary card. George Sodaropolis versus KJ Nunes. One of these guys, these guys have backed into a corner. These are 2 former Golden Boys who are no longer doing so well. Live and let die, Dallas. Live and let die.
Where's G Soto been?
He's been hurt a great deal.
I'm kind of liking Nunes here. I like KJ as a fighter, actually. I think I don't understand why people always say they want him to like box like you do in a ring, like you're a boxer, use it. Well, that shit doesn't work in MMA. What's that, you know? Why the hell would he
Good point.
do? Why would he do that? I like that he's, so either way, I mean, the boxer's going to have a weakness. He's going to box like a boxer, and he's get taken down. If it's not tailored to MMA, that's a big problem. So I like what he's done. He's kind of brutal. He throws like a motherfucker.
Yeah,
Yeah,
KJ
it's
Nunes
not
is down to
technical.
scrap for
Yeah,
sure.
I
But I
mean, of
mean,
course, he does some weird shit. The way he ducks
yeah,
his head under, he's primed to eat like a mid-range kick right in the face if he
I think
keeps.
Josh Thompson and Donald Cerrone did that to him both.
They didn't finish him though. I mean, they might have.
No, but they caught him with some kicks to the face.
Did they? Because I
I'm
remember in
pretty sure
those
Thompson
fights.
did. Cerrone, I'm not sure. Both of those guys tooled him though. I mean, and thoroughly.
Really? I didn't think so. I mean, Cerrone beat him, but I mean, I thought KJ had, he was in every round.
He landed some shots, but I didn't feel like, oh my God, this could have gone the other way if they'd had another
Yeah,
round or if the judges were different. I mean, I think those were both pretty
yeah.
clear.
It's
Pretty
Cerrone
clear.
though.
The
You know what I mean?
Nunes did get fucked losing a decision to Ryan Couture though. That was just bullshit because he pasted Couture.
I
Um,
like that they brought him. Wasn't that like the winner goes to the UFC? So I like that they
yeah,
brought KJ over. Like, why would
yeah,
you not want a guy like KJ Nunes?
I know.
I mean, he'll put on a show every time.
He could be
So
the new Sam Stout.
I like KJ here. Um, I don't know. It would take a top form Sodaropolis to either beat him on the feet. Even if he gets him to the ground, I'm real impressed with the way that KJ's worked his defensive scrambling. Every time he gets taken down, he'll butt scoot and cage walk. Like
Yep.
it's automatic. So I like Nunes here. Okay, I'll take him by TKO. Might be a little ballsy, but
Wow. Nunes doesn't, I don't know, I haven't seen him go for the kill in a while. It's rare you see a UFC fight with two guys both on 0-3 streaks. But as we pointed out, one of those losses for Nunes was a win, should have been a win against Ryan Couture. And two of Sodaropolis' three losses were by TKO. Nunes was all decision. I got to go with Nunes here. All right, it's ladies' time. It's ladies' night. Sarah Kaufman versus Jessica I. What do you think?
what I think?
What
Well,
do you think?
good. Kaufman's like she's been a stalwart and rightfully so in the top rankings, and it's kind of interesting because I don't want to say she's not one dimensional, but she's got her thing. She's a striker and she's got good enough wrestling usually to keep it on her feet. She's a great striker. She's an excellent striker. Um, I don't know. I'm really high on Jessica I right now. I think Kaufman. This is another one where Kaufman deserves to be the favorite. I get all that, but
Yeah.
I'll go with Jessica I just because I like her after that performance against Zoila. I mean, that was like I will be a fan of hers forever after that. I don't know if I've ever seen a female fighter show that kind of brutality mixed with that kind of diversity. Like that was, I love that performance. So I'm gonna go with Jessica I for a little bit of an upset, kind of a homer pick, but
Wow, that's Zola Fausto Gurgel that she beat up on, and she also beat Karina Dam in her last fight. So she's earned her way to the UFC. But I got to go with Sarah Kaufman. Proven quantity. Octagon jitters is the factor you're leaving out there, Dallas. You
proven
thought
quantity.
you thought through everything except the octagon jitters. There's no such thing as a
The
good plan.
oxycot, the oxagon,
The octagon. All right,
oxycontin.
the oxycontin
I
gun. I don't
believe
know
isn't
why your mind
Jessica
is in the gutter like that.
isn't Jessica coming up in weight? Wasn't she usually a flyweight, and this is her first at bantamweight?
Yes,
So you're off your
yes.
game. That's probably the best reason to pick Kaufman. And I'm cool with Kaufman. I mean, she deserves to be the favorite. I'm fine with it. She's earned that. She's put in a lot of years, so she's earned that. But I'm gonna go with Jessica.
All
Don't
right,
wave
that's
don't wave
enough
your hand at me
backpedaling.
like that.
That's enough backpedaling. Backpedal to the hand. You can't pick both fighters. It's a binary choice, Dallas. So let's
Whatever.
go.
Binary fucking C3PO.
Let's go binary. This
Binary
fight
code.
Eugene and I had a lot of fun with because these are two of the most disliked guys in the sport. Nate the Great Marquardt, he of the many failed drug tests, and Hector Lombard, who nobody seems to have trained with Hector Lombard and come out going, I love that guy. I want to train with him some more.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't have any problem with Nate, but this is a stupid matchup. Like I feel like I was talking about
How
this
can you not have
before.
a problem with Nate? The guy's a recidivist steroid abuser who had the most blatant quack. Remember the whole bit when he had the testosterone replacement therapy fiasco and he had his general practitioner basically coming out and saying, "Hey, I'm a quack. Take my license away. Listen to the stupid shit I did to Nate Marquardt." Like, you don't remember any
Right.
of that? The
Was that?
tearful press
I thought that
conference?
wasn't that Overeem that brought in an expert to prove he was kind of a
Nate
dumbass?
Marquardt also had a doctor, and unlike Overeem, who one could watch the hearing with Overeem and speculate that perhaps he'd never even seen this doctor before, although there was video of them interacting in Texas. But you didn't feel like this guy is Overeem's doctor. Nate's guy, you were like, oh yeah, this is Nate's doctor. This is the kind of guy who's practicing in rural Colorado, and the guy was like, Nate seemed a little peckish, so I just shot him up with some stone and just gave him the nut juice and he was good. But then I said, shit, they've got a test for him tomorrow. His levels are going to be all jacked, and it was just like,
Best
dude,
impression ever. Best
thank you.
doctor impression ever.
Thank you, thank you.
Right.
I didn't go to medical school, but I
Do you
watched a lot
hate
of
Josh
Quincy.
Barnett? Because I don't give a shit about drug
No,
tests.
I
You
don't
ask
hate
about him.
anybody.
I
I
don't
don't
give
hate
a shit.
anybody. I mean, maybe some escaped Nazi war criminals, but I just think that Nate Marquardt is open to some criticism given his remarkable history of failed drug tests. That's all I'm
And
saying.
you just need that little crack of light, don't you? Yeah, I
I
got
just need a few convictions to declare somebody, a criminal. I just need a few. I mean, how many? It's not that hard to pass a piss test, like, come on, dude.
It's
The
probably good
guy's,
that you're like that because I feel like I probably should be, but I don't care. I don't give a shit.
I mean, honestly, I don't care about the performance enhancing drugs thing. I don't think they can be stopped. I don't think they give that big an advantage. But it's the failure to pass the tests part that galls me. But anyway, let's get to the fight.
So cheating is fine, but if you get caught, man, you a
Then you're
dumbass.
stupid. Then that is stupidity I just can't take. So Hector Lombard, though, says he's struggling with the weight cut to get down to 170. Nate Marquardt, also a former middleweight. The, what do you think? Marquardt got blasted by Jake Ellenberger in his last fight. Lombard, perfectly capable of blasting a fool. However, the third round, if it makes it third round, it could be all Marquardt.
Well, all I can think about is why are they making this fight? These guys are two former middleweights. How are we supposed to really predict what their future at welterweight is when why don't we just have them fight at middleweight? Especially now they're both drained, they're all both drained from the cut.
Yeah.
I don't know, at least spread, disperse this out amongst the card so Marquardt can be, complaining about the cut. I would like to see them fight other welterweights, I guess. I don't understand the point in matching these two guys up.
It's just like when they bring guys over from Strikeforce and have them fight each other. The ways of Joe Silva are not to be questioned, Dallas. I don't think, because you're not going to find an answer. Marquardt, though, he's on a two-fight losing streak. Tarek Safadine and Jake Ellenberger both beat him pretty dominantly. And before that, he looked awesome against Tyrone Woodley. So, and Woodley's a true welterweight. I mean, this is his fourth fight in the welterweight division. So I'd say, I don't, your point is complete hogwash. That's what I'm saying.
Hogwash, whoa. Take it easy with the
Hogwash.
big guns there, the heavy
Hmm.
artillery. Why is it
Blarney,
why is it hogwash? So you want
because
to
it's
see
Blarney.
so when
Because
two
the guy's
guys are
had
in a
four fights in the
division,
welterweight division. He's a welterweight. Come on. Come
okay,
on.
okay. All right. Well, I guess it's a bad matchup for Nate. I think, of course, now with Lombard, even normal, like his consistency is always questionable, and now that he's having a rough weight cut, that's, I mean, a huge. When we say X factor, that might, I mean, to me, that's probably the biggest deciding factor because, first of all, I don't know how the fuck Hector Lombard can squeeze himself into an 170-pound costume. I mean, he was jacked at middleweight, so. eh,
Nate might want to talk to Hector after the fight about passing drug tests. Because Hector certainly never failed any. I'm not saying he's on any kind of enhancements. I'm just saying that
Other than the fact that Nate should consult with him on masking his
I'm just
enhancements. Other
saying
than
that
that, you're not saying
if
anything.
you were gonna pick a fighter to devote some extra testing attention to, Hector Lombard is a fighter that I would say maybe let's give him an extra test. But
Yeah,
the
'cause
Texas Texas doesn't even have a commission. It has a board, and the Texas Board of
Yeah,
Licensing is not going to be drug testing anybody. Like
it's
putting Hector
historically.
Lombard and Nate Marquardt on the card in Texas. Somebody chuckled at themselves as they did that. They're like, you
Yeah, the old TLDR. I forgot that this fight was there. They've
know,
historically and specifically with like their drug testing policy, right? That's always been a
drug
big
testing.
deal.
This is a business-friendly environment, Dallas. What good's ever come out of making a fighter fail a drug test? I mean, nobody. That doesn't make anybody any money. Come on.
So is it because Lombard's got big muscles? You're convinced he's juicing?
I'm not convinced he's juicing. I'm just saying, hey, let's take a look at this guy. I mean, he trains with American Top Team sometimes.
Sometimes.
Guilt by association.
Uh,
That's
he's all right. So
He trains with American Top Team, okay? But he also lives in Australia sometimes, so it's not like he's, Anyway, all right. So do you have a pick? Do you have a pick in the fight?
yeah, Hector Lombard, unless he passes out on the way to the octagon.
Yeah, see. I'm torn because I really have a very clear and very satisfying vision of Nate Marquardt surviving an ass whipping for a round and a half, and then turning the tables on an exhausted, gassed Lombard. And
Yeah,
when Nate
that's the
has wounded prey in the octagon, it can be a beautiful thing.
it
So,
can
and
not
I
always,
think,
but
yeah, and Lombard is a guy. I'm sure his mom loves him, but I enjoy rooting against him myself, and so, you know. I'm not even sure his mom loves him, but I'm sure somebody loves him at least for a little while at some
that's
times.
funny. I didn't pick up the fact that you didn't like to root against him.
I
There were
like
no
to root against
signs.
both these guys, so I'm looking forward to this fight. All right, middleweight Tim Boetsch versus CB Dollaway. CB Dollaway, another guy who attracts a lot of hate from the fans. I think he's a tool clearly, but I enjoy watching him fight and root for him sometimes. I think he's a very skilled individual, but Boetsch is a terrible matchup. Do you have anything to add to that?
No. I just liked how that he's a tool, but doesn't he have? So
He's just got one of those faces that everybody
we're
hates.
he's got that face like someone in the room is eternally farting, and he's always like, is that just me or? All right, so this show
Yeah.
is God. This is probably the worst show we've ever done.
No, you say that every week, and there's just
Okay,
no
well
way
that
we can
says a
keep
lot.
topping ourselves.
That's how we reel in the viewers. Sizzle. That's the sizzle
We've
on our
got one
appeal.
viewer right now, Dallas. One viewer.
Shortly, watch that. Keep an eye on that one.
Yeah.
I agree with you. I mean, I don't see how Seabass.
You don't see how Dollaway does it. Because Boetsch is going to keep it on the feet, and then what's Dollaway going to do about it?
Yeah, Boetsch is really lacking some distance weapons. He's got to be at toe to toe, and that's been a problem for him in the past. But
He's got that teep kick.
yeah, you're right. You're totally right. That is one tool that he uses out there. I'm not sure he can dictate the fight or do a lot with it, but Dalloway's the same, and Boetsch's stand up is better. I think he's got a better
Yeah.
chin. I think he's got more power. CB might have the better technique. Actually, I would say CB does have the better technique wrestling wise, but I think Boetsch equalizes that with just balls,
Size.
barbarian sized balls,
Yep. Yep.
and a beard.
So
Balls and beard. Tim
we're
Boetsch by balls and beard.
all right. We're picking Boetsch. All right. Now this brings us to the main card. John Dodson, former flyweight title challenger and Ultimate Fighter winner, against Daryl Montague. The
It's about
magician,
fucking
baby.
time. It's about fucking time we got Montague in the UFC. I've been
You think?
complaining about that. Hell yeah, top
But
10
bringing him
flyweight
in against
for
the
sure.
magician isn't doing him any favors.
No, it's another one where it's kind of a head scratcher. So there's a guy he's been a top 10 flyweight forever, and we'll bring him in and put him against. Probably I would say Dodson is the de facto number 2. Would you agree, or is
Oh,
that
easily.
Joey
He's the
B?
only guy who's given Mighty Mouse any real trouble.
I think Joey B's. Either way, I would say Benavidez and Dodson are clearly the top dogs behind, and maybe Ian. I think Montague will eventually get to that point where Ian McCall is, where he can hang with anyone, champion, the number 2 or 3 guy, but he's probably going to have to settle for 4, 5, 6 somewhere in there.
Yeah,
think
and I think he's going to learn. He's not going to be able to hang with Dodson just yet. I think he's going to learn a painful lesson Saturday night.
Yeah, I don't know, but Dodson won't be out of his league. I mean, he is solid. I think he started with wrestling and then worked into jiu-jitsu at like age 15 or 16, and then shortly after started training boxing and Muay Thai. So I mean, he's the full package. He's just like a violent human being. For a little guy, a flyweight, he's one violent motherfucker. So
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, Dodson's one of the toughest matchups for anyone at flyweight. I don't expect Montague to beat him. I expect him to gain some respect in the performance. He's going to struggle with the speed. I mean, that's just like everyone is, but
The
Montague.
speed, the crafty, and the experience. That's three things Dotson's got on him.
Well, I wouldn't say experience. Montague fought, who Yamaguchi, Ulysses,
Montague's been around.
Gomez.
Montague's been around, but Dodson has starred on Ultimate Fighter. He's been on a number of UFC cards. He's been in a main event. I
So
mean,
the UFC
again, you're not allowing
experience.
for the octagon jitters.
Well, you said the experience. I
I
wouldn't
have
agree
to
on that.
preface that with UFC experience. Come on, come on.
Well, because that was the basis of your argument, because you justified it with the Ultimate Fighter, and so yeah, I mean, I agree though.
Experience, including everything he's experienced.
Competition wise, I wouldn't worry about it, but yeah, sure, UFC wise, the problem is Montague is not a quick guy. He's kind of stays in the same gear, where Dodson is laying back and then all of a sudden he's exploding into activity. Montague is more of a steady paced guy, but man, he is a bruiser. He's going to be fun to watch. Nasty body shots, elbows in the clinch.
It
He'll
should be a
drop in a leg
classic
lock.
Bull versus the Matador type bout. And you know how those end every time, Dallas?
How do they end?
The
Well
Matador
and good.
kills the Bull.
Hmm.
That's like every time.
You must not watch True TV.
Occasionally, a bull gets out there and gores the fuck out of a matador. So that's
That's all I
what
like to
keeps the
watch,
suckers
actually.
laying
I
down the
cheer for
road.
the bull like you would
Well,
not
how could you
believe.
not? It's a
I,
barbaric, savage thing. I mean, let's have another hamburger. But on dunk.
It's
Yeah,
good. That's deep. Now you're getting deep. I mean,
it's deep.
you
It's
said
deep.
that funny, but you're talking about social, things
Exactly.
embedded deep in the
You know,
social
you just
strata.
invited me to launch into a Christopher Columbus rant. Look, I get that Columbus was a war criminal, yada yada yada, but all these people that go on Facebook on Columbus Day and post shit about Christopher Columbus, are you giving your property to some fucking Native Americans? No, you're not. So shut up. Like enjoying the bounty that our ancestors stole via genocide is not like expiated by posting a couple of sassy things about Chris Columbus on Facebook. That's all. That's all I wanted to
Sassy.
say. Yeah.
I like that. I
All
like
right.
that you used the
Anyway,
word sassy in there.
and the whole point of Columbus Day as a holiday was to honor immigrants, specifically Italian Americans, and not to get sucked into some debate about continental conquest. Anyway, off back to topic. Let's move on. Heavyweights: Gabriel Gonzaga versus Sean Jordan.
Tough one. I'd like to see Jordan win this one.
I think
Probably.
everyone would, because if Gonzaga wins, what's that prove? That he's still the gatekeeper?
I know, but I've said that like the last two times he's won, and I don't want to deny Gonzaga's skills. You know what I mean? It's not that he's not a talented dude. He's extremely talented.
Extremely talented. The heart has been what people have questioned. But, anybody who wants to question his heart should try getting in the cage with Travis Brown sometime.
I wouldn't say hard. Why hard? But he's not like he quit. I mean, he got punched in the face really hard. It was his chin, if anything, was kind of
Well, I
scarred.
think his loss to Fabricio Verdun way back in the day where he wilted. I think there have been in his fight with Shane Carwin where he had it early. There's just been some fights where Gonzaga, has folded.
Hmm.
So
Okay.
some
Well,
say.
I've never seen any issues with his heart at all. I mean, you kind of know what you're going to get with him. His striking actually looks better. Am I wrong there? He's
It's
always
looked
been
pretty
decent.
good. I mean, he demolished Dave Herman. Um,
Thoroughly. I mean,
yeah.
thoroughly. And in this fight, if Gonzaga gets any semblance of a dominant position, actually, I don't even mean dominant. If he gets on top, that's going to be dominant. If he is able to even, like get in a scramble, if he's able to get front headlock, I mean, and that's nothing against Sean Jordan, but the area where Jordan just cannot hang with Gonzaga's in submission grappling Brazilian
Yeah,
Jiu-Jitsu.
I think he could get out of. I think he would have a chance to get out of a front headlock. I think if he gets on his back, he is doomed because Gonzaga has a heavy base and some serious killer instinct. But I think Jordan is extremely powerful and the football playing experience. I think on his feet, he's comfortable tussling around with other dudes.
Yeah,
Like
your in front headlock was kind of a jackass thing to say. I was thinking like
exactly. I wasn't gonna
if
say
he's
it, but
on his knees, turtled in Gonzaga, like one of those
yeah,
one of those little scenarios because Gonzaga will maximize that and turn it around. He'll take a tiny little thing and make it into a fight-changing sequence. So I'm going to go with Jordan here, but damn, I'm going to apologize to Gonzaga if he wins again because I think I picked against him uh, heartily, let's say.
Yeah, I remember you picked Ben Rothwell and Travis Brown to beat him. Of course, Travis Brown did beat him, so Rothwell though didn't. I got to go with this is a tough one because I want to pick Sean Jordan because there's some potential there, but honestly, I don't see anything long term out of Jordan but another entertaining gatekeeper, which is a great thing, and I'm happy to have him. But I don't see a title run in his future unless the division reverts to the mean of I mean, this is a division that once saw Jeff Monson get a title, so title shots, not a title, but a title shot. So I don't know. I'm going to pick Sean Jordan too, but with serious caveats. Don't be surprised if Gonzaga brings us all to reality.
Well, if Jordan wins it, it's going to be with his boxing. He's got excellent timing. He's got fast hands for such a big dude. So I think he's got a really good chance of catching Gonzaga on the feet. This is like even though they're both talented in other areas, this almost boils down to a striker grappler matchup. I think that's why it's tough to pick because you can see Jordan beating his ass on the feet and in the clinch just as easy as you can see one sequence where Gonzaga is able to adhere and finish it.
But you could also see Gonzaga hurting him and finishing him on the feet. I mean, Gonzaga, ask Marco Krokop about Gonzaga's stand-up.
Marco,
Marco
Marco.
Polo. All right, let's move on. Gilbert Melendez versus Diego Sanchez. This is a hot fucking fight. Not as hot as it would have been 3 years ago, but still.
It really is. And Diego, he never gets dominated. I believe he's only been finished once. Like we have never seen. I think
BJ Penn dominated him and destroyed him.
In the fourth round, he knocked him out. And I mean, he was winning before that. But still, let's say I'll give you that. That is the only time, and he has fought a lot of big names. He's the kind of guy that can hang with anybody on any given night. And I think once his game is kind of basic, and once everyone figured it out, they kind of lost some enthusiasm about him. He's kind of doing the same thing he did way back in the King of the Cage days, but he's doing everything like way better, much more technical. I think he should really break out. He needs something new. You know what I mean? Like, and I don't know what it would be, some capoeira or something. But
maybe you should train with Peter Graham and learn the rolling thunder kick.
That's an excellent. You text that to him, please.
Yeah. Or just watch a video a la John Jones, and he should be able to do it and bust it out in the fight.
A la Korean Zombie, the Twister.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna go Gilbert here. I think everybody is just because the thing is Diego's a great fighter. He can hang with all the best guys. I don't see him having his problem is offensive firepower. That's kind of what I was getting at before. He's tough as hell. He's gonna come forward, but he needs tools to finish the fight. He's either got to be way more aggressive. If he does get it to the ground with passing, and he has, I mean, I want to give him due credit. He started throwing his hands with reckless abandon. And maybe that was his idea of saying.
Well, reckless abandon has never been Diego's problem. That's,
True.
I mean, other than the time he fought Josh Koscheck with a staph infection the size of a soup can in his thigh, he's always been aggressive and electric. His defensive acumen has been questioned. You're right about he doesn't have a kill switch. He's got a lot of effective weapons, but he doesn't have any go-to lethal weapons. And Gilbert Melendez, the guy's a fucking hoss. The guy's a killer. The guy plods forward. He boxes you up. He takes you down. He beats you up on the ground. It's,
I do
what are
know.
you gonna say? Yeah,
I do know.
And the other thing is, Gilbert does not get baited into stupid brawls. Gilbert is always on point, even against the wildest brawler. He's always methodical and disciplined and protecting himself. And you are not sweeping or reversing Gilbert on the ground. It's not going to be one of these bullshit Diego. I mean, we love him, but it's not going to be one of these scramble fests that Diego loves to get into.
Well, you kind of make an interesting point in that usually when we see Gilbert Melendez fight a more polished and technical guy, he looks a lot like Diego Sanchez. But in this fight, he's not. He's going to assume the role of the more polished and technical and methodical guy. And I think, to me, that's going to be the whole difference. Gilbert's smaller. He's smarter. He's got more options. And I think, his mental game and his just poise is what's going to win this for him. Because Diego, love him to death. We know what he's going to do. He's going to come out and
yes!
Yeah. I mean, bull rush to takedown makes
Is he
up.
still using stevia in his coffee? Do we know?
I don't know why. Is that a banned substance, Nate? Should we have the
It's not a banned
TLDR check?
substance. It's a totally fine herbal sugar substitute.
Yeah, I know what it is, Nate.
However,
I know.
it's like a cult thing, and Diego got sucked into it and thinks it's got magical powers. I'm just waiting for somebody to put some salvia in his stevia, and now that would be
Whoa.
entertaining.
Yeah,
Can you
that's.
imagine Diego Sanchez on salvia?
I think someone already might have taken that to heart over the years.
I
Either
think he
that, or
might have.
he's snorting that stevia or shooting it up. But
Uh,
tough matchup for him, man.
yeah.
This should be all Gil.
Yep. Yep. I have to agree, and that brings us to our co-main event: Daniel Cormier versus Roy. Not so big anymore, country Nelson. Pretty clever there, but because he's skinny. He's skinny Roy.
Skinny Roy. He's having a bad camp, I read this morning, and I would have. This is
Do
probably
you
one of the
believe? Are you
worst.
dumb enough to fall for crap that Roy Nelson is publicly saying? Do you think he's actually going to give away any secrets about how his camp went to the public? Like,
Well, he lost. Ryan Martinez was one of his regular training partners. He broke his hand. Something went up with King Mo, and Jeff Mayweather had diabetes or whatever. And that is a huge part of the nucleus of his training camp. So that's not like myth. It's not something you can spin.
it's just
So
smoke. It's just smoke that Roy's putting out there to throw DC off. Come on, Roy's a savvy veteran.
that he is. And I mean, let's be honest. This is a terrible matchup for him. Cormier is like a fucking wrecking ball with wood chipper arms.
Yeah,
Dude is really a talent for him to. And what I'm most impressed about is his stand-up. I mean, he's coming in probably as one of the better heavyweight boxers in the entire division, and he's a fucking Olympic wrestler, and he
yeah.
moves like a middleweight right now. So I just don't see, other than the patented,
The big
overhand.
right hand.
But the one thing when you kind of touched on it before in a different way, but Roy's crafty. This will be by far the toughest and most wily opponent that Cormier is. He fought Josh Barnett too, but Big
Yeah,
Country's a little bit different. He's more rugged than Josh. Josh is technical, long and smart. Big Country's just mean, tough as hell. He's like a
yeah.
giant
I
bearded
think
tank.
Barnett's more mean. I think Nelson might be a little tougher. I think Barnett kind
Yeah,
of he
yeah.
didn't fold against Cormier by any means, but once I think he realized he was beaten at a certain point and kind of shut down in that fight. Whereas Roy Nelson, I don't think grasps that concept. Even in a fight where he's totally getting pasted, like against that fight against Miocic last time, where he came in on short notice and was just getting creamed. He was a live threat all the way through the fight.
Yep, that's a good way to put it. And I wouldn't say it wasn't like Josh gave up, but it got to a
No,
point where it's like, dude, you're down, and he seemed like he was. But then again, like it's Daniel Cormier. I mean, look how fast the guy is. How do you hit a guy who is that low to the ground and he's moving around that fast?
how do you
And
solve a problem like Maria?
and, I don't know what that means. And he's like winging like Fedor-esque hooks,
The
when he.
Sound of Music, Dallas, was a musical
Yeah,
in the
and it's funny
60s.
because that's in
All
my
right.
DVR right now. I can't believe that. Whoosh. So don't you think though that Cormier, the way he throws, I mean, he throws like down, like almost like with the European corkscrew style. He's not like traditional tight. I mean,
And that's
he's
why he
throw,
breaks his hands so much.
and that's why he's knocking a lot of dudes out too.
That too.
So
That too. But Roy
um,
Nelson has a very hard head. And if you break your hands against Roy Nelson early on, you might be in for a long evening.
so I totally agree. But the areas we were talking about that Roy can win are highly unlikely or lower down on the scale. I mean, this should be
Should
Cormier's
should
fight to win.
Cormier slip on a banana peel in the octagon, Roy could have the jiu-jitsu advantage in a big way. But he's not getting Cormier on his back. And if he does get him on his back, he's not keeping him there for long. This is not Kimbo Slice.
Yeah,
Is all
I
I'm
agree.
saying.
Which kind of leaves the big right hand. Hate to say
Yeah.
it, but
So Roy has the proverbial puncher's chance. I think I'm gonna start a band called Puncher's Chance. What do you think, Dallas?
I think that would rule, and I would watch some of it.
All right, awesome.
Notice I
Uh,
said I wouldn't listen to it. I would just
well,
watch it.
that's a good call. Cain Velasquez versus Junior Dos Santos, the heavyweight headliner. This is it, the end of the trilogy, the rubber match, the two best heavyweights of our generation. Eugene's worried that the loser is going to emerge a broken man. What do you think? Is
You go
this?
first on this one because I have no clue. It's so hard to tell on this one. I mean,
Well, I think that Junior's going to come out and knock him out in 64 seconds. Wait. I think that Kane's going to come out and pace him in the first round and then beat him for 5 rounds. So one of those two scenarios, about 50-50 chance. Actually, I think it's going to be a third fight we haven't seen before from these two, and I just hope it's not Arlovsky Sylvia 3.
Yeah, I'm really glad you said that. That was actually from all the, shit falling from our mouths today. That was somewhat enlightening because you're right. I don't know what to expect. I think this is going to be totally different than any of the other two fights, and it's hard to tell. Like, I don't think it's bad in MMA to use the he got caught thing like it's some kind of an excuse for a loser. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
I think the same thing happened. The only difference is Kane went to sleep and JDS never fully recovered, and I can see some people think that that was a little more demonstrative for Kane because he ended up dominating him all the way through the fight. And I don't know. I thought that was an excellent display of heart by JDS, and I think his punching power
that it
and
was.
speed are going to be. I really have no idea. I'm kind of inclined to go with JDS on this, and I have no nothing more than kind of like a random inkling of a feeling. You?
It's extremely difficult for me to make a pick on this one. I think I'm going to go with Kane, just because he's the champion now, and JDS has those doubts. He's wrestling with those doubts from the loss, but I don't know, man. JDS looked incredible against Mark Hunt in a great fight, one of the best heavyweight striking fights in MMA history. Um, I, I don't know, man. This is incredibly hard to call, and I think it's all going to come down to intangibles we're not privy to, like what's the status of JDS's divorce? His ex-wife is still his manager. What's the injury levels that we won't find out until weeks after the fight. You
Yeah, and to
know,
me the difference is Kane came into the second fight hungry as hell, and JDS was more like, "Yep, I've kind of proven I'm the champ. I need to." I don't want to say he's on, like he was overlooking Kane, but now I think it's going to be the flip side. JDS was, I don't want to say he was full of himself. I think he's going to be much hungrier. He's got more to prove now. I think that might be a little bit of a
this
difference.
is this I think that will make a difference. However, I think Kane is always hungry. I think Kane is an incredibly sort of empty individual who just has to fill it with training, obsessive training and goal seeking. I
Yeah.
mean, and incredible will. Kane Velasquez, slow and steady wins the race is like his mantra, and it's a mean slow and steady. Slow and steady beating your face is kind of the Kane Velasquez thing. I don't know, man. I'm excited about it. This is one of the this to me is right up there with the Frankie Edgar Gray Maynard rubber match that me personally one of my most anticipated fights in well over a year, and it's frustrating to me. I think the fans are sleeping on it to a certain extent. I don't think it's getting at all the anticipation it merits.
Yeah, you might be right. I'm not sure why either. Yeah, I kind of agree with everything you just said, and especially I think Kane has just that natural toughness, like what we were talking about with Barnett and Roy. Of course, JDS is tough, but is if someone's
Yeah,
going to get hurt and fight through adversity and keep going, I mean that's Kane Velasquez to a T. He's like a machine, and he does strike me as a guy that they just kind of like lock up in a dark back room and just like slide raw meat under the door every once in a while, and so
yeah,
and that makes a difference, for sure. JDS is such a nice guy, but yeah, I mean the mean. Although again, he showed good heart. I mean, his face was
incredible heart.
mangled.
It
So
was incredible heart, and he never quit trying to win. He wasn't just coming out there uh, to fight for pride. He was fighting to win the whole way, even though he was fucked up. I mean, Kane, that right hand Kane caught him with was one of the most devastating punches I've ever seen that did knock somebody out.
what I'm faintly and vaguely remembering. Wasn't there something weird with JDS's post-fight speech? Like, were they booing? Is that what it was? The crowd was booing him, and he like even stopped once in front and said, "Why are you guys booing me?" And I remember I was like, "Hell yeah, I love that." Did that even
Yeah,
happen? That's another one where is that
that
reality or?
has happened, but I can't remember if that happened at that fight or a different fight.
Yeah, I don't remember
So
either. But okay, so random. But yeah, I'm gonna go with JDS here.
bold
I,
words.
I
I'm
think
going with Kane, son.
Well, I think this is a bit of a coin flip, isn't it? I mean, maybe 60-40 for Kane, but still, I mean, I
I'd
don't
say it's
see
a
how you can.
55-45 split, honestly.
good. It's important you clarified that.
Would you? Here's the one last question. Would you want to see a fourth fight between these guys?
Yeah, man. I don't like after BJ and I don't. Why would we not want to see more fights? Like, I think when Edgar had a couple title fights, people are like, "Well, it's his last chance. Why would we ever?" I'm like, "Why the hell would we not want to see him? If anything, the dude has proved he's championship level. To me,
Yeah.
that's more of a reason to stay in the division. Keep at it. Champions change all the time. So yeah, I mean, I would watch if these guys, as long as they keep proving. To me, that's what MMA is all about. Put guys in a division, the guys that continually prove, rise above and get to the top of the division, let those fuckers fight. I don't care how many times they fought. To me, that's how you figure out who the best is. And on top of that, MMA is a sport where Kane JDS is a perfect example. It's not like these two guys fight, one guy wins, and we say, well, that answers it. That guy is the better fighter. I mean, different results all the time, different dynamics. So yes is the answer to your question. I would watch them fight several more times.
Glad to hear it. Any other parting thoughts before we wrap this up?
No, this has been a turd. Let's
This has been gold, Dallas. This is one of my best performances. I didn't let you drag me down. Come on, it's a heroic feat of broadcasting on my part, I've got to say.
You keep putting that facade up. We know deep down little Nathan in there might be a little wounded, but I'm just like this is like my third or fourth night of sleeping like 3 or 4 hours.
Dude, have some kids. This is my third or fourth year of sleeping 3 or 4 hours. It's you just get used to it after a while.
I got that on my list. Kids, I'm gonna snort some stevia. I'm gonna look into The Sound of Music.
Yeah.
Temerity. I think you said temerity. I thought that was
I did.
Alcoholic beverage you drink on the beach.
No.
I have a lot of homework to do after this, Nate.
That you do. And everybody, do your homework. Subscribe to MMA Nation. Get this junk on your YouTube feed. And we'll be back next week. Blah, blah, blah. Adios, MMA aficionados.
Blah, blah, blah. Bye.
All right. Have a good one, Dallas.
You too, man.